Hello, are there any Leonard Cohen fans here? I'm sure there are. And I was a massive fan of Leonard's back from my teens. And I was lucky enough to see him at the Isle of Wight back in 1970. And this book, which you can see here, Leonard Cohen, A Remarkable Life, is by my good friend Anthony Reynolds. And I know Anthony originally from Cardiff because he was part of the South Wales music scene like I was, and we used to play some of the same venues. Anthony went on to do a lot of things. He became a signed act with a band called Jack, and he had albums out and he toured, and that was his music. And he's a composer and a producer. He does a lot of music. But besides the music, he became an author and a poet. And this is one of the biographies that Anthony wrote. He also wrote biographies of Jeff Buckley and the Walker Brothers and Japan. And he's a gifted writer as well as a musician. But this book, which I'm in, as I just said, it takes me back to 1970. In 1970, I wouldn't have thought that many years later I was going to end up in a book about Leonard Cohen. But this is what happened. I'd just like to read you a little bit about why Leonard Cohen is stuck in my memory. And a lot of the other bands I saw, they didn't. I said in Tony's book, I said, and I saw Emerson, Lake and Palmer, their first performance at the Isle of Wight, and some American hippie was sat next to me saying, "Man, it sounds like a fucking spaceship." For me, it was just a lot of loud noise on the stage and a bunch of guys showing off. I couldn't get into it at all. For me, I suppose what Leonard has and had is a direct communication with the individual. His words and performance speak to us all somewhere. And it's not about anything more than that. It wasn't about freaking out to some loud music and freaky sounds, but more about recognizing in Leonard's words what we could relate to. There was a lot of awe and reverence for him at the Isle of Wight, and it was a shared appreciation for a great poet and writer. His audience listened. So that's a little bit of what I had to say, what I had to tell Tony when he was writing this book. But it's a fantastic book. I'd just like to show you, well, you can see it. It's quite a big book. But there are photos. There's lots of photos in this book. Right. There's some photos there of Leonard Cohen. And Tony was really lucky because he actually got to meet Leonard Cohen at one point as well. So that's a little bit about Tony's books, Leonard Cohen. You will find Tony on Facebook and elsewhere. And I really recommend, checking him out. He's got loads of music for sale and books, and he's just a really talented guy. So, why not get an Anthony Reynolds album or book? It makes a great Christmas present. And I'll leave it there.